Christmas brunch, you want to open presents. When you want to open presents, you want to be cooking. And then when you're done with your Christmas presents, everybody wants to eat. So here's a great dish we can make ahead the day before. And when we make it ahead, you just pop it in the oven and you're ready to open presents. And when it's done, you eat. So it's called an Irish cream liqueur French toast casserole. Now you do not have to use Irish cream liqueur. You can just use regular milk or cream if you like. I've got a loaf of challah bread and I've cubed it. So what we're going to do is we're going to mix eggs. I have beaten some eggs in here. I have about 10 eggs and I've beaten them, and we're going to beat this mixture together. Of course, making sure no shells or anything bad there. And I'll continue to beat as I add my mixture. Then I'm going to add the Irish cream liqueur. You can definitely use a different substance if you'd like. Makes it a nice color and flavor. Get a little coffee and a little bit of a chocolate flavor in there. Makes it sweet. I've got some really good vanilla. Don't use the cheap stuff. You want some nice good vanilla. It's invaluable in this recipe. If you're worried about the alcohol, by the way, most of it should cook off in the oven. So it cooks for about an hour. So not to worry so much about that. I've cut down the sugar because you don't need a ton of sugar with that Irish cream, but we need to put some sugar in here. All right. And a little salt. Anything that's sweet, you really need a little salt in there. There we go. And some light cream. Again, you could just use all light cream if you were worried about the alcohol. Or you had some Kahlua, you could use that. Use any kind of flavor you wanted, Ashley. You could definitely use a different flavor if you so chose. So we want to mix this all together. I'm not real worried about it having it light and fluffy because it's going to puff in the oven, but we want it all blended. You can see it has a nice yellow-brown color. That's what we're looking for. It smells awfully good. I don't think I want to drink it, but it smells good. This is an easy recipe, which is great if you're in a hurry the night before Christmas and you don't have time to fuss with breakfast for the next day. So let me show you how we're going to layer this. We're going to start with our bread. We're going to sprinkle some breadcrumbs here. Bread cubes, I guess, breadcrumbs. One thing I've done is put some cream cheese in the freezer so that they're easier to handle, because sometimes cream cheese can be soft. So we layer the bread in there, and then we layer some strawberries. I'm using frozen because it's not necessarily strawberry season, but you could use others. And I want about a third of my strawberries, a third of my bread and a half of my strawberries there or so. And then I'm going to put the cream cheese pieces on top. Okay, so look how pretty that looks already. It's got Christmas written all over it. You don't want to fill this pan too much. When we fill our pan too much, that's what's going to happen. It's going to overflow into your oven, and we don't want that to happen. The star of the show is definitely going to be the Irish cream flavor. And more strawberries. Okay. And you want to overfill the bread part a little bit, because what you're going to do is when you put the liquid, like the egg in there, the bread's going to soak it up. And then we'll finish off with the bread. Look how pretty that looks already. It looks beautiful. So I'm going to pour my egg mixture over it. See, it's going to cover this. Beautiful. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my hands and I'm just going to smush this down. I think that's a technical cooking term, smush. Good. I'm going to put some foil on it, and you have it. And the next morning we're going to pull it out. A pain in the neck to stand there in front of a griddle and flip pancakes? Well, I got a good idea for you. This is the best way to make pancakes I know. It's a casserole, and you can cut it into squares, and you don't have to flip them, and they taste just the same. And they actually are better, in my opinion. So what I've got is I have some boiled maple syrup. I literally boiled it in the microwave. I used a glass dish. Of course, you wouldn't use metal. You can use raspberry syrup or any kind of syrup you'd want. And I'm making a basic pancake batter. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pour it over top of this, pop it in the oven, and I don't have to flip a thing, which is great. So I've got 3 eggs here. And I'm going to beat them slightly because I don't want to overmix my pancake batter. As you know, when you make pancake batter, you get little bubbles on top. And if you pop those nice little bubbles that you worked so hard to put baking powder and baking soda in there to make your pancakes fluffy, then you are overmixing it and you're going to break your pancake bubbles, which are carbon dioxide bubbles in the batter actually, and your pancakes will be tough. So we don't want to do that. So I want to mix my liquids together. I've got some lemon juice. That's actually going to add some acid. It's going to make that baking powder, baking soda react together with the acid to make a nice light fluffy pancake. I've added some oil to this, and I'm going to go ahead and add some milk. It's starting to look like batter. Now I'm going to mix my dry ingredients together. I've got baking soda and baking powder, a little sugar, and some flour. And I'm going to mix those slightly so that I do not get big lumps of baking powder, baking soda in there, and I don't have to overmix my pancakes. When you do this at home, you want to make sure that you have your ingredients separate, dry and wet. All right, so we're going to go ahead and mix our dry ingredients into that. And again, we don't want to overmix it, as I said before. But we do want most of the huge lumps out. A few little lumps, or even large lumps, are okay. This should look like a pancake batter to you about right now. And you want the big lumps out. And I'm using a whisk. I can use my spatula or my scraper to help me get my big lumps out. There we go. It's starting to look thick and delicious. Now what we're going to look for are those bubbles on top. You can start to see you're getting your carbon dioxide starting to come up, and your lumps are coming up too. So what you can do is actually wait for your batter to sit for a sec and work on the lumps right at the surface of the pancake batter. It's kind of a nice trick, so you do not have to overmix it. Just work on those lumps right at the top. And you're not going to overmix your batter, and you're not going to pop your bubbles. Good enough. All right, so I'm going to take this. I'm going to pour it on top of my pancake syrup. And I'm going to pop it in the oven. And you have instant pancakes. Have some adults at your brunch. Sometimes people like a little cocktail. You don't want anything too powerful, but a nice little libation helps. If you wanted to make this without alcohol, you could certainly use a sparkling lemon lime beverage or even seltzer to do it for your little children. And children like big fun glasses too, so let them have that. So I'm going to take a few raspberries. We're making a Bellini. It's a very popular beverage right now. And we're going to take a few frozen raspberries. I like the frozen raspberries because it helps keep the drink cold. Right in the bottom. That's a little bit of a variation on a Bellini. It's an Italian drink. And I've got some peach puree here. And I'm going to pour. You want about 1 part peach puree to about 2 parts champagne. And I'm going to top it off with a little bubbly. Ooh, that looks good enough to drink. And there you go. Happy brunching. Cheers. There's a breakfast item that comes from England to us, and it could be a popover, but I'm going to make it into a toad in the hole. That sounds strange. Why is it a toad in the hole? Well, you can see I have a popover pan here, and I've got little sausages, and they're pre-cooked. I've actually cooked them right in my popover pan because I want a little bit of the oil and the sausage drippings down there. It also could be made into a Yorkshire pudding, the same batter. If you take a big prime rib of beef or even a chicken and you pull it out of the oven and you pour the same batter right into the meat drippings, you can make a Yorkshire pudding. So it can be three things, same batter. We can make a popover, we could make a Yorkshire pudding, or a toad in the hole. It's called a toad in the hole because what I'm going to do is when we're going to pour our batter in there, and you'll see what happens when it bakes is the little sausage is going to peek right out at you, and that's the little toad in the hole. This is a great recipe. It's got 4 ingredients to it, along with the sausage. So 4 ingredients in the batter you can't miss. Anyone can do this. All right, so I've got the sausage links here. Again, I have a little bit of oil in the bottom, 2 eggs, 1 cup of flour. It's really important you measure this properly. The measurements here are really important. 1 cup of milk. Now, I have added a little sage because I like a little extra sage, but salt is the other ingredient. So we're going to pour in our flour, and the mixing is important here too. We're going to pour in our milk. And I'm using whole milk, but you could use any kind of milk you have, even soy milk if you wanted to. And this is salt, and I added a little sage for flavor, but you do not have to. The mixing is important here. You want to make sure that you do not over-mix it, so you don't want to use an electric mixer, but you want the lumps out. A wire whisk is definitely the right tool for us here when we're doing it. Now this is a recipe that you can actually make the batter ahead the night before. The sausages can be made ahead the night before, and it's best if you have a hot pan. I got really most of the lumps out here. Quick and easy. I'm going to go ahead and use 1/4 cup, and I'm going to fill these evenly. So I'm just going to pour some of my batter into these, and I want the batter even. Now I have some dribbles here, but you don't want to keep those on the pan. It's about 1/2 cup per hole. It's somewhat of a liquid batter. Don't be alarmed if it looks too liquidy. You want it as even as possible. And a good popover is going to rise, have a flat top, and fold over, and the little sausage will be peeking out. So literally, I'm going to wipe my pan. Now I want a hot oven. I've got a 450-degree oven. Once it puffs up, and you don't really want to open the oven door to see it, just turn your oven light on. Then you just change the temperature down to 350. So the puffing will take about 20 minutes. It's going to puff up, like I said. And then you change the oven to 350 and let it cook on the inside. It should be crunchy. It should be high and puffy. It should be hollow on the inside, and it's chewy all at the same time. Yum. This is our toad in the hole. I'm about to put it in the oven. We'll see you when it comes out. We're going to make some eggs Benedict. Eggs Benedict can be made ahead of time, or you could certainly make it the morning of your brunch. I like to make it ahead of time if I possibly can, and I'm going to show you how to do that today. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to poach some eggs. Second thing we're going to do is we're going to saute some vegetables. I want to make this as Christmassy as possible, so we've got some sauteed onions. I'm going to add some spinach and some tomatoes, nice color. And then I've got some sauteing Canadian bacon. It's already pretty much ready to go. And I've got some Portuguese muffins all warmed up and toasted. Those can be ready the night before. Now, the thing is, if you wanted to do this, I wouldn't toast my muffins, but you certainly could. And they are ready and warm to go, and they can be kept in the oven for a few minutes while you're finishing your eggs Benedict. I've got some melted butter, and we're going to make some real hollandaise sauce. Most people like that, use that mix. We don't want that. We don't want the mix at all. So, first thing I said we're going to do is we're going to poach eggs. To poach eggs, you want to make sure that you add a little bit of vinegar to your water. You have some water in a skillet, and you want to add the vinegar because the vinegar is actually going to coagulate the protein in the eggs. It's going to help keep it solid. We don't want our water boiling. As you can see, it's a simmer. And we're going to use a special technique to keep the eggs together. That's our goal. We don't want the eggs to explode and go everywhere in the pan. So I want to make sure I'm going to use a small strainer. I'm going to crack my eggs into this strainer, and you'll see how we're going to do this. I'm going to crack it right above my onions because it will not hurt my onions. I'm cracking my eggs into that strainer, let a little of the liquid drip off, and then slowly put the egg into the water, and we'll have less of a trail of egg white. So we're going to do 6 because we're making 6 eggs Benedicts. Again, don't waste that egg, put it right into the onions. I used Portuguese muffins, but you could certainly use an English muffin. I like the Portuguese muffins because it gives you a little extra flavor and a little bit of extra room because we have those vegetables. A traditional eggs Benedict would only have the Canadian bacon on it. I've got some onions sauteing in here, and I've got garlic right in here, all ready to go. And I'm going to add some spinach. Now this is going to cause some water to come into our pan, so we want to make sure that we evaporate all of the water from the spinach because you do not want watery eggs Benedict. So we're going to cook our spinach. It cooks in no time at all, especially on a gas stove or a fast stove. And once the spinach is sauteed, and this is smelling incredible, then we're going to go ahead and we'll have everything ready to put our eggs Benedict to get together, and we're going to make our hollandaise sauce. Look how pretty that looks already. Oh, pretty pop of red right here. Look at that. And that's going to be really pretty on our eggs Benedict. And I don't really want to cook our tomatoes. I want to warm them through. I've got our poaching eggs. I've got our Canadian bacon. That's all good. Now what I've done, I've got everything ready. You really, really want to have everything ready. I have melted butter, 2 sticks of it. Again, this is not for the faint of heart, literally. And I've got some lemon zest. So I've got 3 egg yolks. I don't need the whites. I've got egg yolks in this double boiler situation I've got here. I've got lemon juice, which is our liquid. Our egg yolks have liquid. I've got some salt on hand in case we have a problem. And I've got extra pieces of butter. So I don't want my liquid boiling. I'm going to go ahead and put my egg yolks on. You don't want to put the egg yolks on until you start to mix. Make sure that my liquid does not touch my bowl or my top of my double boiler. And I'm going to start whipping my egg whites. And I'm going to go ahead and add my lemon juice. I can tilt it so you can see this. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and add some lemon juice. I'm only going to add half my lemon juice because I might want to add some more at the end. And you want your egg yolks to start to get light, fluffy, and creamy. You don't want them to overcook. If you start to see what looks like scrambled eggs, pull the whole bowl off that simmering pot and just let it cool off for a sec. Now you've got your liquid here, and now we're about to do our fat. I've got a little bit of a pinch of salt because that helps the egg yolks coagulate. Now, when you've got your melted butter, you've got milk solids in here, and you've got what you'd call ghee or clarified butter. I personally like the milk solids in a hollandaise. Some people don't. I like the milk solids. I think they make it taste good. You can start to see now. You can see where I'm getting bubbles here as I'm mixing because I'm incorporating air. So if you're mixing a hollandaise, you want your egg yolks warm. You want them to thicken a little bit. And I'm about to drizzle my butter in very, very slowly. And that can all be done off the heat. I'm going to go ahead and add my lemon zest. I think that adds a little bit of flavor to it. You certainly don't need to do that. You can start to see my egg yolks getting thicker and warmer. And my butter's warm too. And at this point, I'm just going to take this off the heat. And we're going to do this over here. I'm going to keep my heat here in case we need it, because that's a factor in our emulsion and our coagulation. So you can actually have a buddy here that helps you. Maybe your favorite son or daughter or grandparent or whoever help you drizzle the butter in here. And what we're going to do is drizzle it literally a drop at a time. If you drizzle it just a little bit, if you go too fast, you're liable to what is called break this emulsion, and it'll separate. We want this to stay together much like a salad dressing, like a creamy Italian rather than an Italian dressing. So I'm going to just drizzle the hollandaise very, very slowly, and I'm going to mix very, very quickly. The hardest part is just mixing. So when we're doing this, we're just going to drizzle more and more butter in. And I'm just going to finish with the milk solids. And my hollandaise is there. Done. How about that? Not hard at all. And there you go, hollandaise sauce. And I'm going to show you how to assemble this. I like to put my ham on first. I wish you could smell this. It's wonderful. Okay, and it's all caramelized and sauteed. Then I'm going to go ahead and add my vegetables. Look how pretty that is. That is beautiful. Nice color, and it's going to give it that fresh flavor. Oh, those vitamins are so good for us. Take some time. Now, everything can be made ahead, and then you just assemble it the next day, and then it can stay warm in the oven. And then I'm going to take my spoon, I'm going to spoon my eggs on top. Isn't that pretty? And there you go. Perfect. And our very, very best part, the hollandaise sauce. Look at that. It's gorgeous, and it just gets ladled right on top. And eggs Benedict with fresh vegetables. Look at that, eggs Benedict. Enjoy.